I acquired every Louis Vuitton fragrance so you don't have to. Louis Vuitton is a brand that, of course, is massive in the clothing designer world, but have actually only recently came up with their own fragrances. You know, relatively, it's not too long since they came out with their first fragrances that are niche price, but I would say designer mass appeal. Hence why I've always said that Louis Vuitton fragrances aren't really worth their price tag. However, over the years, the popularity of the fragrances have gained traction, and we all know that Louis Vuitton, their whole shtick is being exclusive. They're LVMH, they are, you know, the high-end stuff that no one else can gain access to, and that's why their founder, what's his name, can't remember his name, Bernard, he's like always a billionaire in the top 10 list. Sometimes he overtakes Elon Musk, sometimes he's underneath him. You know how it is, guys, just billionaire things. So it's a very big brand, Louis Vuitton. They have a big name behind them, so a lot of people have tried their stuff, even with the high price tag. They don't mind paying extra, and I think their stuff is quite easy to like. They haven't got that many fragrances. I'm only going to be doing the men's and unisex fragrances from their official website on today's buying guides. So the only fragrances you're going to be seeing today are from those lists. You're not going to be seeing anything else if you're wondering, you know, why have I missed certain scents. As with all our buying guides, we're going to be discussing each fragrance's scent profile, their performance, when I think you should wear them, who I think should wear them, and then finally the final score I'd give each out of 10. And then in the end, I'm going to tell you which fragrances from Louis Vuitton I think are full bottle worthy. Let's begin. Kindly, today's video is sponsored by Cologne Collection, who have provided most samples featured in today's video. Cologne Collection is a great website that offers to you authentic, genuine fragrance samples shipped worldwide to your door for you to try fragrances out before you buy a full bottle. They do 1 ml, 2 ml, 5 ml, and then 10 ml as well. You can get this cool snazzy atomizer that the Cologne Collection provides with their own branding. Cologne Collection offer a fantastic service. I always say to you guys that it's best to not rush with your fragrance purchases. I always say on the channel, go for quality, not quantity in your collection. And the main way to do that is through fragrance sampling. That's why I love it when fragrance sampling websites collaborate with us. They are the best sponsors to have on our channel. So make sure you click the link in the description down below to go to Cologne Collection, as well as in the pinned comments. Try out their stuff, go to the website, order some fragrance samples to your door today. Let's begin. The first fragrance I'll start off with is Louis Vuitton's L'Immensité, Immensity. Now, I kind of feel like this is the great starting point for the brand because it's part of their fresh collection as opposed to their darker bottles. I feel like their fresh collection is pretty much designer perfumery, just made a little bit higher quality and very mass appealing, easy to love. I think Immensity is a fantastic scent. Although I said, you know, I don't think Louis Vuitton stuff usually is full bottle worthy in the past, I actually think this one is. I didn't like this fragrance up close. It's a very simplistic but nicely done citrus, watery, aquatic, ambroxan fragrance. So those notes might make you think, okay, this isn't anything special, but I think actually it's not up close on your skin where you smell the greatness of the scent. It's up in the air, in the sillage. The citruses sort of play with each other. There's sort of like a concoction of different citruses, some lime, some orange in here, that really provide a really sexy aura, a very masculine, handsome, traditional summertime aura that I think is just fantastic. It's just a fragrance you love smelling on yourself. This is like Louis Vuitton in a nutshell right here. Very expensive fragrances, but very easy to understand. And I think this will get you a lot of compliments. This is a good performer as well, around 8 hours with a medium projection. To me, I would love to wear this as my signature in the spring and the summertime. I think it's a fantastic scent. I'm not sure if everyone's going to agree with me with this being full bottle worthy because of how expensive it is. But overall, I would give this a 9 out of 10. It's one of my favorites from the brand. And then next up, we have in the Cologne Collection Atomizer, Imagination. Imagination is usually more praised than Immensity. I think it's not my favorite person if I compare the two together. I think I prefer this less compared to L'Immensité because I don't find this as sexy, I don't find this as masculine. This is sort of like the more calmed down, more reserved unisex counterpart to something like L'Immensité. It's got some tea notes in here. It's definitely a tea-based fragrance. It feels more calmed, relaxed, sort of like if you enjoy fragrances like Mont Tobacco Intensiva by Ormond Jane or Silver Mountain Water, you'll love this fragrance. It's a more reserved scent, as I said. It's still a pleasant, natural scent with good performance. Around 6 to 8 hours is what I get with medium projection. I think both genders will like this more, definitely. It's more in the middle in the gender scale. I think it's a nice scent, but I don't think it's worth the price like Le Monceté, in my opinion. It just doesn't wow me as much. So I'd give this an 8 out of 10. Still a solid scent, but I'm not sure if it's full bottle worthy. 32% of people who watch School of Scent are subscribed to us. If you guys want to see our channel grow, to really help us out, click subscribe. Let's get that number to 40%. Thank you. We'll continue with their fresh, transparent bottle collection to try to get all their freshies done out of the way first. I'm going to spray some of them on these paper strips I have here because with these buying guides, guys, it takes like weeks in advance to really smell all the fragrances. I try to give all fragrances at least one wearing. So these buying guides are not perfect because most of these are one wearing. If I really like a fragrance, I'll wear it multiple times, but I try to give a good full wearing for each one and then try to take notes. So that's kind of what I have to do to remind myself as I record these buying guides. So Pacific Chill is a nice opening. It has that fruity lychee effect. It's a very citrusy, lychee-based, tropical, musky scent that to me was unisex, leaning feminine, and it lasts about 4 to 6 hours. Apart from that lychee effect, I don't think this was a very phenomenal fragrance. It kind of felt a little bit underwhelming. And for that Louis Vuitton price tag, I don't think this is really worth it at all for how much you're asking to pay, and the performance just isn't there. I would give this maybe a 7 out of 10. It's got a nice aspect with that lychee, definitely. It smells very nice on paper. But to me, I remember now that I just wasn't particularly impressed. You may or may not like this one. You have to try and sample it, definitely. Cologne Collection. Next up, we have Afternoon Swim, another popular scent in the brand. When I first sprayed this fragrance, I kind of thought to myself, oh, okay, this is kind of giving me Terre d'Hermès / Burberry touch vibes. Really fresh, sharp, spicy, orange. And then as it dried down, I got a little bit disappointed because it kind of just felt like they were copying Tigar. This is Tigar with orange notes in here. And I find that really disappointing and a little bit lame, just kind of riding the success of Tigar. Unless I'm wrong, maybe this came out, no, I think I did check. I think this did come out after Tigar. So kind of they took the idea of Tigar being woody, citrusy, sandalwood, ambroxan perfumery. It's very easy to like, very mass appealing. But it's nothing new or creative. I'd rather you just go spend your money on Black Panther by Alexandria Fragrances, a great Tigar clone, or go for Sospiro Vibrato if you want to spend more money. I don't think you need this. This is easy to understand, but it's too much money for what it is. 4 to 6 hours longevity, medium projection, leaning masculine, I'd say overall. Definitely a warm weather scent, but I just don't think it's that great. I'd give this maybe a 7 out of 10 at most. That's being generous, I think. So now we have Louis Vuitton Météore, which I can't remember. I thought this was in a black bottle. Maybe I'm wrong. You'll see it on screen now. I thought it was a black bottle, but I remember this actually being a summer scent in its scent profile. I have to kind of remind myself of a fragrance by spraying it on paper, and you know that's a bad sign, guys. If a fragrance I just can't remember it and it's resprayed, it probably means it's kind of forgettable. That's not a good sign. So I remember this being a little bit sweet, fruity, musky, ambery, definitely a summer scent, but it's kind of got this boring laundry detergent effect, a very synthetic musk base that is in some overpriced niche fragrances from other brands. Think like MFK, they do it quite often with their Aqua Universalis line, their 724 release as well. And I just kind of think, okay, some of the fruitiness here are kind of attractive, but this is unisex leaning feminine, but overall, I think it's disappointing. Even for you ladies out there, I don't think this is particularly interesting. I don't think it's worth the price, and the performance was like 4 to 6 hours, something like that. So I think this is quite a disappointing release in the brand. I give it a 5 out of 10. I don't recommend this. Next up, we have On the Beach. Now, I'm gonna respray this on paper, but actually I do remember this fragrance not really matching its name. It didn't really smell like marine-like, or it didn't really remind me of being by the coast. It's summery, definitely, but I just don't remember it, being particularly beach-like. So yes, it's fruity, it's kind of got a tropical effect to it, but it's mainly a white floral citrus fragrance. Again, that laundry detergent effect. I would say this is unisex leaning feminine, definitely. Again, think 724 Aqua Universalis, that kind of style. Laundry detergent effect. It's got some long-lasting musk because of that, but it's synthetic. Not worth it regarding the price tag. I think it had a decent performance because of those musks, at least 6 hours, but overall it's just quite forgettable. It's not worth the money. I give this like a 6 out of 10. Definitely a summertime scent, but one of the weaker from the brand. Next up, we have California Dream. Summery as well. California makes me think it's a summery scent. I think the name matches this scent profile. How I remembered it in the opening was that it smelled like very interesting candied orange, and I actually have a bit of experience in perfumery, and I think I know the orange they used here. It's a very unique kind of citrus called Orange crystals, so it's a very candied, fuzzy orange top note. It's quite sweet and lasts quite a while. And then it kind of dries down to a lot of ambretolite, a lot of iron shirt musks, I like to call them, very clean, expensive smelling musks. And overall, I feel like this fragrance, again, similar to how Afternoon Swim kind of reminds me of Tigar, this fragrance definitely reminds me of Another 13 by Le Labo. Again, I'm not sure if we can put it on screen which fragrance came out first, but that's kind of disappointing. It's kind of like, okay, if Another 13 you feel like you can't wear it in the summertime, so it's a bit thick, that fragrance. Maybe you can go for this. This is long lasting in fairness, like Another 13, but again, it's just that disappointment of the lack of creativity, if that's the case, if this cloned Another 13. So that's why I give it 6 out of 10 overall. I would say this is unisex, perfectly in the middle. Next up we have Orage, which is a strange name because I don't know if this is like meant to be orange was the name. So I kind of thought orange when I first sprayed this, but I'm not sure if it's actually listed as a note. But I do remember thinking like, this to me smells like spicy, fresh orange with a hint of patchouli in there to round it out. This is a nice rounded out warm weather scent overall. This is like, to me, a Terre d'Hermès flanker mixed with Tigar. I think a bit of that Ambroxan, Tigar, sandalwood effect is in here as well. Wasn't the longest lasting fragrance. I remember this being maybe 4 to 6 hours, but it's very sexy, masculine. I really like this actually. It's really just worked on me. It's just my style, I think. So if you like fragrances like Terre d'Hermès, you like Tigar, again, I wouldn't say this is a clone of Tigar. It's not like Afternoon Swim where I feel like it's too similar. This is a bit more unique. I actually really like this. I think I give this an 8 out of 10, maybe, let's say 7.5. I don't think it's quite an 8. I'm not sure if it's full bottle worthy. I'm not sure if it's worth the price, but try this out. I think this is one of the better from the line for sure. Sur la Route. Now this is a fragrance. Again, guys, if you see me spraying a fragrance on my skin, that's a good sign. I'm not spraying it on paper. This is memorable and I like spraying this on my skin. That's kind of the spoiler right there. To me, this fragrance, as soon as I smell it, it's like spicy, peppery, green, definitely green and fresh. And I looked at the notes, it's got like the grass notes, the leather, it's got some sweetness in here. I will say this is, again, more of a warm weather signature, but I think you can wear this 3 out of 4 seasons. Maybe winter is not the strongest season. The notes remind me of the 2000 style, and the notes remind me also of the Carolina Herrera style. Sort of like if you enjoy fragrances like CH212 Men NYC, the original, or the original CH Men also, this is sort of like the niche version of that. It's a 2000 style, but I think it still works in modern times. I really like this fragrance. It was dry, mature, masculine, crisp, refreshing. Those were the adjectives I wrote down for this. I really like this. The performance isn't spectacular. I think if the performance was better, I would really give this a high rating, but I really like the scent DNA. It's smooth, it's got some nice naturals in here, and it's got a cool style, reimagined, rejuvenated in a really nice way. So I'd give this an 8 out of 10, one of my more favorite fragrances in the line for sure. So now let's go to their black bottles, the more intense cold weather-esque kind of fragrances. We'll go to this one here called Eau Hasard, which to me, as soon as I sprayed it, it reminded me of aromatic leather. This reminded me of something like ombre leather mixed with yours Fahrenheit. It's a little bit green. It has that rounded out effect by the pear. The pear is a nice addition, but it's not too prominent, so it's kind of just there in the background. And it's sort of thick and dense, kind of the same thickness as Ombre Leather Parfum, but it's kind of a different scent profile to that, if you know what I mean. So it's kind of like a cool, interesting idea for an aromatic leather scent. Cold weather signature, unisex, leaning a bit feminine in my opinion, but a surprisingly bad performance. Well, not bad, but weaker than I expected for something this thick and heavy, all these leathery notes. I got 6 to 8 hours maybe at most with a medium projection. And overall, I just didn't find this fragrance particularly attractive. I don't think it's worth its price. The performance is okay, and I don't think it's that attractive in its scent profile. So I give this a 6 out of 10. I don't think it's that memorable or that spectacular, but I guess you can try this if you want to, if that kind of style works for you. I think something like Ombre Leather is much more affordable and more attractive in my opinion. Next up here we have Ombre Nomade. I haven't even written notes for this one because I've smelled this fragrance before, but I understand it's a very traditional rose and oud scent. People like these kind of rose and oud fragrances because they're beast modes, they are very Middle Eastern, it has their very unique, distinct style. Ombre Nomade I think is praised because of how strong it is. It's like a very loud, projecting fragrance, over 12 hours longevity. Traditional rose and oud, I don't think is using real oud, or maybe they're using a hint, I'm not sure, with a slight incense effects in here as well to give it a sort of smoky Middle Eastern style. There's a lot of scents out there like this. If you want the more affordable Ombre Nomade, like a cheap smelling version, but much better value, if you know what I mean, Oud Touch by Frank Olivier would be a great alternative. I think that fragrance has a very similar effect. Of course, it's not going to smell as good as this, but at the same time, I don't think this Ombre Nomade is worth its price tag. I always say it's a bit of an overhyped fragrance in my opinion. There are better rose ouds out there, such as Alexandria 2 by Xerjoff, or something that's a lot more affordable, has a very similar effect, but at least has a more creative twist with chocolate in there, is Risala by Arabian Oud. Very similar to this. It's like Ombre Nomade with a chocolate twist. Better price value proposition there, and really good performance in that fragrance also. So maybe that is the fragrance you go for instead. Ombre Nomade is a good fragrance. It's long lasting, beastly, it's unisex, a cold weather signature. I give it a 7 out of 10. I think it's overhyped overall though. Les Sables Roses. I've seen this fragrance mentioned before, but I haven't really seen too much hype for it. But I remember as soon as I sprayed this, I thought this was Toy Boy in the opening. This is definitely a rose scent. It's spicy, natural, high quality rose that dries down away from this niche Toy Boy effect I got in the opening to sort of like MFK oud silk mood, oud satin mood kind of territory. This thick, long-lasting rose effect. Maybe there's oud in here, I'm not sure, I can't remember, but this is definitely a high-quality fragrance that is a little bit more challenging than those two MFK fragrances that lasted a really long time. I think it lasted easily 12 hours, medium projection at least. I can see this being a unisex cold weather signature. I kind of prefer this over Ombre Nomade personally. I think it's a little bit more interesting, even though it has some throwbacks to other fragrances. I still feel like it's its own thing overall. So it's not a fragrance you blind buy at all. It might not be worth this price tag. I think it's a point of contention, the price. So I would say try it out. I'd give this an 8.5 out of 10, one of the better scents from the brand. Next up, we have Nuit de Feu, which is an interesting scent. I like this on the dry down, but the opening was a bit challenging. So I think there's notes like jasmine, sambac, and oud in here listed, but I don't think it's real oud. I think there's animalic notes in here created by the jasmine. Jasmine itself can smell animalic. A lot of people don't realize this. And I think they try to use that jasmine to kind of create that barnyard animalic oud effect. I'm not sure if it's real oud in here, but I don't know. And then it kind of dries down to something very creamy and airy. So it's overall warm, ambery incense with a leathery vibe and an animalic jasmine vibe in here as well. Interesting idea. I would say this is a cold weather unisex signature that lasts over 8 hours, and I think it's quite sexy on that dry down, as I said. So it's not a bad scent. I think it's probably a little bit underrated. I don't really hear that much about this one. I think it's worth trying out. It has a cool chic vibe to it from that dry down. I really do like the dry down the most here. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Fleur du Désert, which again, I'm spraying on paper because I don't think it was that memorable. And I've written my notes. So this is another jasmine oud. I don't think there's real oud in here, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't really get it personally. It smells a bit more feminine, jasmine, oud, animalic, sweet, musky, floral. Again, that's probably the jasmine itself is giving that animalic, indolic aspect of the jasmine there. Long lasting, over 8 hours, I think. I can't remember the performance that well. It's really an okay scent. Unisex, leaning feminine, I'd say. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I just feel like maybe this wasn't particularly memorable. I don't think a lot of people will like this, but it's worth trying out. And I said the seasons best for this are the spring, summer, and the autumn time. Then we have City of Stars, which I'm not sure, I can't remember if this is the black bottle or a fresh bottle. Maybe I've misplaced this in the video. But I remember thinking this is very much like 724 Aqua Universalis, that laundry detergent style of niche perfumery. That to me is a bit of a mess of a style. I don't like this. I don't like smelling like laundry detergent. Some people do, but I don't think you should be paying this much for it. You can go and get something like On the Beach or Lazy Sunday Morning by Maison Margiela, which is more affordable, has a similar style. But overall, this is a musky, citrus, white floral laundry detergent fragrance. And those laundry detergent musks here are really making this last a very long time. Fantastic performance. I think easily over 10 hours from what I remember. It's more of a warm weather signature that is unisex leaning feminine. I don't like the style, but that performance is what is impressive, and hence why I was going to give this a 6 out of 10, but I'll bump it up to a 7 out of 10. It might be worth trying if you love this style. And then lastly, Nouveau Monde, which I just quickly have to respray on paper as well. I would describe this as sweet, floral, animalic, leathery. I don't think it was real oud in here. I think that was listed in no breakdown, but I think I remember this being civet. It smells more like civet to give that animalic aspect again to try and give that barnyard animalic oud effect. Unfortunately, I think up close on skin, this is giving me Secretion Magnifique vibes, so really dirty and challenging perfumery there. If you don't know what that fragrance is, you can go look it up if you want to. I think this was more appealing in the air from what I remember. And then on the dry down, I've said that this dried down to a more traditional rose and oud scent, although I don't think real oud is used here. Again, I don't know. Overall, I said this would be a polarizing cold weather unisex signature that's probably not worth the money. I would give this probably a 6 out of 10, but you might enjoy trying this out anyway. And that concludes this buying guide, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. Overall, I would say Immensité and Sur la Route are my two favorites from Louis Vuitton. Those are the only two I think I would consider getting full bottles of because of just how attractive I find them. They're long lasting enough, they have cool styles, even though both of them are probably more mass appealing rather than niche. Of course, you can always argue that Louis Vuitton isn't necessarily trying to be niche, they are a designer brand, so even though they are charging those really high price tags, they still want people to really enjoy their stuff and feel cool wearing something that is Louis Vuitton. What are your thoughts on Louis Vuitton fragrances, guys? Have you tried any of their stuff? What are your favorites? Are you going to try some new creations from them now because of this video? Are there any that you're excited to try out? Again, guys, if you want to try out Louis Vuitton, make sure you go to Cologne Collection, who sponsors today's video, and go try out some samples for yourself. They deliver to your door to most worldwide countries. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to check out our previous buying guide up here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.